Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. It's the evening of August 12th, and as you can see, I'm coming from my office here in my home in Sedona. First thing I want to do is say thank you to everybody who attended the workshop here in Sedona a couple days ago on Saturday, August 10th. That was my 8th workshop, and once again, it was an exciting event, a helpful event, a knowledgeable event. And the emails continue to come in from those who participated to saying how thankful they were to be a part of what was there. I'm in the process of tentatively scheduling some series of dates for more workshops coming up. I am going to do my next one in Southern California as I had promised, because the one I had there last time, well, it had sold out. That will come in a later newsletter. But for now, well, it's interesting because yesterday Iraq had announced their prime minister. And so much in the blog sites have been based around what was going to be taking place and would the RV be taking place when that happens. And we haven't seen anything yet, and I'm just going to tell you my opinion. I don't think we're going to see anything yet, even for a while. There are so many differing opinions that are out there, and so much of it is just waiting for something to happen. And so much of it is having to report on things that, to me, personally, really didn't have much bearing or impact on this thing, because this is a global issue, not just what's happening in the country of Iraq. Well, I'm going to choose to do something because of that. I'm going to choose to kind of step aside from the RVGCR. Now, if I see any really important, relevant news that isn't just a bunch of chatter, then I'll comment about that. But I don't want to be coming here trying to just bring stuff and say stuff when there isn't really anything what I would call in-depth relevant news other than just a bunch of chatter of different opinions from people that don't really have any bearing in the end on when this is going to happen. But I have talked about in the past about how do we bring this about. I'm going to share some things that I share in my workshop, and I'm going to be leading into this in a series of messages. One of the things that I do, and as I open up in the workshop, I always said that this RVGCR is not about you and I getting rich. This is about a shift and change in history. This is about a freeing of humanity. We as a human race have been under a financial suppression, literally for centuries, by a very few controlling, very powerful people and individuals and a group that knows how to control the money supply here on this planet. Well, one of the things, if you watch and follow history, is that when a group of people begin to rise up, begin to gain the knowledge and the ability to be able to take action for themselves, that is when they are able to set themselves free. So really what happens out there is, if we are in a position of being suppressed financially, collectively, quite often it's because we don't know what to do or we don't have the appropriate knowledge. Really what it comes down to is what's called ignorance. Now, I don't mean to use that word in a derogatory term. I just mean to use it in a state of not knowing. There's so many of us out here, we want to do something, but we don't know what to do, or we don't have the appropriate information. One of the things that is so helpful are the changes that are beginning to take place because of the power of the internet. You see, the cabal, their power has always been in a couple of things. One of them is secrecy, i.e., keep us in the dark, keep us ignorant. Do not let us discover the truth of what is really going on out there. Truth is very powerful. Jesus said that in the book of John. You'll know the truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But knowing the truth is also, a part of that is the process of gaining the knowledge that is necessary and moving ourselves from a position of ignorance into a position of appropriate knowledge. You've heard me say this many times. First of all, the most powerful force on the planet, in the universe, is the power of love. But here on this planet Earth, the most dominant force is the power of fear. And quite often, fear, which is equated with darkness, keeps its power over us because of our ignorance, because we don't know. If people don't know what to do, if they don't have the right information, there's a tendency to respond with fear. That's why knowledge is extremely helpful. Things are beginning to change and the truth is beginning to come out. So what are some of the things that we can do collectively? Well, I spent 20 years of my life in politics, and I always didn't necessarily believe in the power of what I call letter writing or sending emails to Congress, because a member of Congress gets about 3,000 to 5,000 emails a week. And the only really people that see it are their staff. But there is something in the power of when it speaks to an element of truth and it speaks to an element of responsibility and the timing of that as they begin to understand. I think it's pretty clear to see that what's happening here in the United States is the people are beginning to realize something's not right. The system isn't working. Whether it's our political system with Congress, it's broken. But what we definitely know, the banking financial system is definitely broken when it's designed to serve us. It's broken in that aspect because what it's doing is serving the extremely powerful and the extremely wealthy. And we always know the first place where that starts is the Federal Reserve. And I'm going to mention a few things, and then I want to basically share some other things with you that has been shared with me. First of all, these are some things that I'll be able to talk about in an upcoming series, and it's things that you can also step into yourself and begin to train yourself, educate yourself, bring yourself out of ignorance where you can begin to share this with other people. The first thing is the power of the Federal Reserve, the central bank system of the United States that controls the whole complete money supply of the United States and also indirectly controls the money supply of all of the other banks, central banks around the world. The Federal Reserve here in the United States, in essence, is the money supply controller. A lot of people, the vast majority of the people in America, still think that the Federal Reserve is a government agency. You and I know that that is not true. But what we can do is step up, take the responsibility, and begin to share it with people and just say, did you know this? Are you aware of this? Are you tired of this? Are you tired of this corruption that you and I know is going on in the financial system? Because the first thing that you can do is to tell them that the Federal Reserve is a private business, a private corporation. And they are basically padding their own pockets, making millions and billions of dollars for themselves and their fellow bankers at our expense. And it's what's keeping our country in debt. It's what's keeping us in a position where we don't have the power to free ourselves. Congress has a responsibility to what is called to coin and determine the value of money thereof. In 1913, Congress passed a law and gave that responsibility to the Federal Reserve, a private company. They gave their constitutional responsibility to a private company. That's one of the first things. The second thing is we understand that what we do, we are a system that operates on a basis of debt. Now there's good debt, and there's also some really bad debt that can really entrap us and enslave us. But a good form of a debt is a mortgage on a home, because it does something that does stimulate the economy, and it's very reasonable in having a home mortgage, because it helps us be basically consumers and helps the economy by doing that. But you and I know that the interest rates that we pay on our home mortgages is based on the LIBOR system. And you've heard the news that has come out within the last year how that system was rigged. It was a rigged system. The interest rates are rigged. And you think that there would be in this explosive anger by the people. But what happens quite often is we feel somewhat empowered. We're depowered. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to react. It starts with you and me understanding the truth, sharing it with others, and taking responsibility to take action on ourselves. And it's just recently what has come out is how the price of gold has been corruptly manipulated for some period of time. This is now coming out in the public. That's very powerful. The control of money, the control of interest rates, and the controlling the power of the price of gold. And I would assume to say, and I'm going to make this basically prediction, we're going to find out in sometime in the future that the stock market prices are manipulated and controlled as well. We have a responsibility to put ourselves into a position of knowledge. Now, in the recent couple months, you know that I've been basically on 3 to 4 times a week, been talking with a representative of the Dragon family, who you know that I believe are the ones that basically hold the world's money supply, the true money supply of the gold that is here on the planet. The gold that will back up this currency exchange, the gold that will back up the money system to set us free. Others are beginning to write about it and talk about it, and you could even start doing some research, and you're going to find it starting to being talked about in various areas as well. Well, it's the ambassador who I have my contact with. But in this family, the Dragon family, who is comprised of royal bloodlines from all around the world. Now, when I say that, it's predominantly from Europe, the Middle East, and Asian countries. They're not just Chinese, even though they are located in China. But at the top there is an individual who he goes by the Red Dragon. That's who he is. And some people may appreciate this, some people may not. I really do. But the Red Dragon himself has come from a Buddhist background and has made a conversion, and he is a Christian. And there were some Bible verses that were passed on from him, given to me, that he would like me to share. And the reason for this is because he's a firm believer of the fact that we have a responsibility to move ourselves from ignorance into knowledge. And these are verses that you can use however you want to see fit. But I want to honor him and to say thank you to him for everything that is in the process and in the works of what they are doing for us. So I'm going to turn to my other screen here and just read some verses that may be very familiar with you. And I'll post those in my newsletter that'll come out tomorrow as well. One of the first ones that many of us are so familiar with is Hosea 4:6, where it says, "My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge." My people are destroyed. We put ourselves in the place of being held in oppression, held in a position of being destroyed, being in a place of destruction, being disempowered from a lack of knowledge. And it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom," Proverbs 1:7. And then Proverbs 8:10, it says, "Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than the choice of gold." Proverbs 10:14, "The wise lay up knowledge, but the mouth of the fool brings ruin to near." Let me scroll down and just bring out a couple others for you. You know, history shows that this gold that they have in their trusteeship has been traced to come from basically from King Solomon. And in 2 Chronicles 1:11, here's a couple of verses there in 2 Chronicles 1:11 and 1:12. And it says, "God answered Solomon, because this was in your heart, and you have not asked for possessions, wealth, honor, or the life of those who hate you, and not even have asked for long life, but have asked for wisdom and knowledge for yourself, that you may govern my people over whom I have made you king. Wisdom and knowledge are granted to you. I will also give you riches, possessions, and honor, such as none of the kings who were here before you, and none who shall have the like." There's a lineage that is coming down from not only from the wisdom of King Solomon, but the gold that is there. And it's because he desired wisdom and knowledge first, he was granted that and so much more. That's why it's important for us in this process is to be people who would desire that first, and then the rest of it begins to flow for us. Let me read some other verses that is coming to you. And it says, Acts 3:17, "And now, brothers, I know that you acted in ignorance, as did also your rulers." Ephesians 4:18, "They are darkened in their understanding, alienated from the life of God, because of the ignorance that is in them due to their hardness of heart." And then 1 Peter 1:14, "As obedient children, do not be conformed to the passions of your former ignorance." There's more. I'll share those basically on on the newsletter that I'll be sending out tomorrow. We have a responsibility to self-educate ourselves. We have the responsibility to take it on. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is take the time, do a Google search around the Federal Reserve. Go into YouTube and do a search in the YouTube, and you will find all kinds of basically videos that will teach you about the corruption of the Federal Reserve, the corruption of the financial systems, and the lies that have been coming to us from our government leaders. In December of last year, I had an opportunity to be on an episode of Discovery Channel, and I was basically the expert witness as a former state senator who was testifying about how our government lies to us and why they can get by with it. It's important that we begin to understand what the real structure of government is and how it really operates. We have a tendency to think that the power lies with our elected officials. Not really. I'll share more of that with you later in one of the upcoming series that I'll do. Is about where the real power of the decision making that affects our everyday lives of where it lies, in government. We have a responsibility to set ourselves free when we begin to move out of ignorance, move into knowledge, begin to understand the truth. We are the ones that will begin to rise up and free ourselves. Thank you very much, and I'll enjoy having you on the radio program tomorrow night. Okay.